Hi dear students, in this video I am going to explain to you the second poem of the Beehive book, that is Wind. I have straight away began with the second poem because the first poem, that is The Road Not Taken, was already explained to you when you were in the 8th standard. And it was not about say 4 months ago. I had already explained that poem to you, and that's why I straight away began with the second one. The poem has been made with the help of a slideshow. It is more of a PowerPoint presentation rather than a video, and I have done this on purpose so that it will be easier for you to understand and comprehend the poem. After watching the video, I am sure that most of you will find it very easy to understand what the poem is about. Thank you, and please watch the video and go through it, and also let me know about your feedback as to did you like it or not. Thank you. Dear students, in this video I am going to explain the poem Wind from your book Beehive. The poem was actually written in Tamil by Subramanyam Bharati, and later it was translated by A.K. Ramanujan. The poem is an example of modern poetry written in free verse with unequal and unrhyming lines. The poem consists of a total of 23 lines, and it is undivided into stanzas. So what I have done is I have divided it into different segments to ease out comprehension. The first 4 lines of the poem goes like this. Wind comes softly, don't break the shutters of the windows. Don't scatter the papers. Don't throw down the books on the shelf. The poem opens with the poet's request to the wind. He addresses the wind directly, and he wants the wind to blow gently so that the shutters of the window are not broken and the papers are not blown out. Because the poet is basically a writer. He also urges the wind to not scatter his papers. The poet wants the wind not to throw down the books from the shelf. Now let's go to the next 4 lines. There, look what you did. You threw them all down. You tore the pages of the books. You brought rain again. You're very clever at poking fun at weaklings. In these lines, the poet demonstrates the damage done by the wind. The wind throws down the books and also tore the pages of the books. It causes the clouds to make rain. The poet believes that the wind, by destroying the weak things, seems to mock them at their frailty and fragility. Now let's move on to the next 4 lines. Frail crumbling houses, crumbling doors, crumbling rafters, crumbling wood, crumbling bodies, crumbling lives, crumbling hearts. The wind god winnows and crushes them all. These lines describe the havoc created by the fierce blowing wind. It destroys the inanimate things like houses, doors, rafters, etc. In this way, he talks about the difficulties of life which the wind causes. The poet refers to the wind as a god whose rage destroys everything in its way. Now, let's move on to the next 5 lines. He won't do what you tell him. So come, let's build strong homes. Let's join the doors firmly. Practice to firm the body. Make the heart steadfast. The poet reminds the people over here that the wind god acts according to his wishes and will not actually bow to our requests or do as we ask him to. So it's better that we prepare ourselves by equipping our building, our bodies, and our hearts with immense strength. Now let's discuss the last 5 lines. Do this, and the wind will be friends with us. The wind blows out weak fires. He makes strong fires roar and flourish. His friendship is good. We praise him every day. In these lines, the poem believes that if we are strong enough not to be shaken by its strength, the wind can become our friend. Your wind stands for the hardships of life. The wind can only extinguish weak flames, but the strong flames remain longer with a loud roar. These hardships can make only weak people stagger, whereas strong people become stronger by facing these difficulties. Now let's throw light on the literary devices used in the poem. The entire poem is written in free verse, so there is no rhyme scheme here. There comes anaphora. It is a word that is repeated at the start of two or more consecutive lines. In this poem, you will see that lines 2, 3, and 4 begin with the word don't, and similarly, lines 6, 7, and 8 begin with the word you. So, this is how the poet has used anaphora. Then comes personification. Over here, wind has been personified. When the poet says you are, he is actually referring to wind, means he is treating wind as a person. Next comes repetition. The word crumbling has been repeated many times to lay emphasis on the destruction of the wind, and that's why the word crumbling has been repeated several times. Next, we have alliteration. Alliteration is the repetition of consonant sounds used in closed connections. The examples are wind, winnows, won't, want. Lastly, we have symbolism. Over here, wind has been used as a symbol that denotes the challenges in life that we have to face from time to time.